Normal. All right, we're back. Calling all men. This is our last broadcast of today. We are here gathering with men to confront the crises that our men and our boys, our sons, our brothers are facing in today's world. And very excited to speak with our next guest because he's been traveling all around the world, organizing men's circles, bringing men together into brotherhood, to be accountability partners with each other, to up level together as men. I met this man in Puerto Escondido, Mexico. This would be maybe about 2 or 3 years ago, and yeah, he and his Colombian wife were down there, and she also does her retreats. And so, yeah, these guys are kind of on the edges of evolutionary work around the world. And yeah, so Francisco Fortuño is a men's mentor and author, and the best-selling book Men's Circles. Men's Circles. He has created the first global community for personal development and conscious sexuality for men in Spanish. Hombres evolucionantes. Evolucionantes. That was not done with the Spanish accent, by the way. Since 2015, he has become the expert on men's work in the Spanish-speaking world, and now we speak to the Spanish guru. Francisco, how you doing?
Hello, guys. I'm very happy. First of all, I want to honor you for creating this summit. It's amazing. I know how much work there is behind this. I've done myself 4 times a conscious sexuality summit. I know what it is. I know what it takes, and I know it's a ton of work. So yeah, I honor you two guys for doing this. And yeah, I'm super happy to talk to you today.
Yeah, and just a welcome to everyone who might be tuning in on Francisco's channels, YouTube, Facebook, and welcome to Hans's followers as well. Feel welcome. Bienvenidos, españoles o colombianos, or okay. I hope you speak English because we're going to be speaking in English today. Um, so, Francisco, I'd love to hear from you. First of all, why men's work? Why men's circles? What is it that touches you about bringing men together? Maybe what are the challenges you're seeing men are facing that you're attempting to, yeah, provide a solution for?
Well, first of all, I think it was. I don't think I was looking for men's work. It just like men's work found me. In fact, the first time I had contact with this, I was in a tantra retreat in Thailand, and we were for 3 days. We were men and women, and then they told us for 3 days we had to be only men. And I was like, "What is this? I didn't come to a tantra workshop to be only with men." And I was a bit annoyed. And then there was 47 of us at that workshop, and I was really uncomfortable, and I was really like judging every man and feeling really like edgy with everything that was going on there. That was 2015, by the way. After these 3 days workshop, I realized there was something in me to have a look about this thing with masculinity, why I was so uncomfortable around men. So at that workshop, at the end, we had the opportunity to commit to something. And my commitment was to facilitate a workshop with my friends when I was back in Spain. So I did it months after when I got back to Spain. I convinced a few friends to have like a day with me where we were exploring different things. And that was the beginning. This was 2015. And I realized, yeah, there was a lot to look in detail with me and my development with men. So I started basically organizing men's circles at home in my bungalow in Koh Phangan in Thailand. Um, then I started coming, and I then started seeing all these different problems or different challenges that we were facing. That if you want, we can talk about deeper in this talk. But it was by accident, and for like a couple of years, I was like, no, 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 men's work is just a part. I don't want to be focused only on men. Why this? But then I realized it was great for me as a man to be surrounded by men. It was great to be kind of facilitating spaces for men because it was very important for my integrity to, when I knew I was going to be facing other men, I had to think about if I was in integrity with myself and with them and with the circle. So that was a very, very powerful, and it still is in my own path. So yeah.
Wow, interesting. So you've organized men's events and men's circles where around the world? What countries?
Well, I can tell you Spain, Colombia, Mexico, US, Sweden, uh, Denmark, Berlin in Germany, Thailand. Probably I'm forgetting some other countries, but yeah, I travel a lot. I've been nomad for 10 years now. So yeah, I organize men's circles, workshops, retreats, wherever I can. And I work a lot online since 2017. I have my own online programs about sexuality, about for men who want to facilitate men's circles. So yeah, it's a very global network. We have facilitators for men's circles in more than 25 countries because there are Spanish speakers everywhere. So it's 500 million people who speak Spanish in the world. So it's a big audience.
Wow. So you've trained facilitators of men's circles.
Yes, first I started doing my own circles. I didn't really have a guide so much, so I was kind of improvising and talking to the guys and just see what was working and what was not working. And after I facilitated about 100 circles, I realized that there was no content about this in Spanish. In English, there's like a couple of books, one from MKP from the 90s and another book, but not very much, especially for the Spanish speaking world. It's quite different, the culture. So I started writing a book, and then somehow I got blocked with the book. I didn't know how to continue. And then one day I was doing yoga and I got like a message, and the message said like, it's not a book, it's a course. And I was like, a course? This is 2017, so online courses were not as common as now. So yeah, I posted a message on Facebook and I said, I'm looking for 12 guys who want to facilitate men's circles. Finally 16 guys registered for the course, and we did it. This is 6-7 years ago. Now we have more than 200 guys who have taken this course in many different countries. After I published the book, I realized I still wanted to publish the book in Spanish, and then I published it in English. This is the book, Men's Circles, A Guide to Creating Spaces for Masculine Evolution. And now this content is available for any man who want to learn how to facilitate men's circles and wants to have like a structure and a guide on how to do it. So it's been like an amazing path to share this with other guys and to still facilitate my own circles.
Very cool. Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of American guys who are like men's circles, like what is this? And I wonder how is it even in Spanish because Spanish speaking cultures, because there's even a bit more of a macho culture in many Spanish speaking cultures. So how do they first understand what you do, and how do you explain to them what you do?
It's funny because I didn't even know this existed. And in 2016, I think, I went to Portland, Oregon, to something called the World Domination Summit. And there I met a guy, and I went to this guy. This guy is in this summit. I was very happy to see him. I met this Asian looking guy, and I'm like, okay, what do you do? And he's like, I'm a men's coach. And I was like, a what? Men's coach. I was like, wow. I had already studied coaching, but I didn't know it existed something like men's coach. And this guy is Michael Krotowski. I think you are going to be with him as well. So I took part of his course, School for Men. I think it was 2016, 2017, long time ago. And when I started doing my men's circles in Spanish or in Spain, and I was saying, no, we have a men's circle, people were like, oh, what are you going to do? Is this something for gay man, or are you going to masturbate or something like that? And I was like, no, no, no. And still today, in 2023, there is nothing like men's work in Spanish. When I say trabajo de hombres, people really don't know what this means. They think it's
Yeah.
like maybe men building a road, or it's
Yeah.
not a thing. So it has improved, like the situation has improved a lot, of course, in these 8 9 years, but still is way behind. I think we are like maybe 10 or 15 or 20 years behind the States or other European countries. So
Uh-huh.
it is kind of hard to convince the guys, or to make it very attractive to them. But once they try it, and once they come, they see the power, and they see their need to be in spaces like this.
Do you see, Francisco, apart from, you say it's hard to attract them, do you see an equal need in, say, the Spanish speaking world for a brotherhood and man's circle as there is in the, say, the Anglo-Saxon world? Do you see a do you see an equal need for it?
Definitely, there is a huge need. I think, I have facilitated circles, and probably I've been with men from, I would say, more than 60 countries, maybe more, because in Copenhagen there were people from every country. I had a guy from Israel and a guy from Palestine sitting in the same circle, Indian guys from Cyprus, every European country, really lots of different countries. And I think there is one thing that is really equal for all men, is that we need other brothers with whom we can talk about our things. We need other men with whom we can be vulnerable, with whom we can sometimes challenge each other, or help each other, or inspire each other. And this is completely, I mean, it's really the same. There are differences. I can see many differences between the Latin culture and the Anglo-Saxon culture, for sure. But if you go deep, we have really big need. I can see, for example, in Spain, the feminist movement is really in control of all media, of government, everything. So they are pushing more and more men towards the side. So this doesn't happen so much still in the Latin American countries, at least in Colombia, in Mexico, maybe in Chile and Argentina, it's like Spain. But so there is more and more men who are feeling ashamed for just being men, because every day in TV you have this news about the guy who's raping, the guy who is killing, the guy who is treating, who is in prison for whatever thing. But very rarely we have images, or guys on TV, or on media, that you can actually look up to them and say, wow, I want to be like this. I get inspired with this type of masculinity. This is very rare now. They are only showing
Mm,
the bad guys, the toxic
yes.
masculinity. So I think this is the biggest need we need. And so many men are very
Yeah.
lonely, and they don't have friends with whom they can talk about these things.
My question is also, sorry, Michael.
Let me just cut
Go
in
ahead.
here before we go too far. Yeah, I just want to say, everyone who's just tuned in or is watching a recording here, we're interviewing 50 men this week, like Francisco, very interesting men who are working with men and boys, young men around the world, coming together to confront the crises that we're facing. You're welcome to attend for free. Callingallmensummit.com. You can just go and subscribe for free, and you'll be invited to all of that. And then here on our Facebook page, you get another 20 live interviews. And Francisco was good enough to come take some time away from his travels and come and join us and tell us about what's going on in the world of men and masculinity around the world. So yeah, I would love to hear some more of, I don't know, the differences and the similarities that you see between cultures.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Let, let me ask it, because I totally see also and experience the difference, say, Spain and Colombia. You're in Colombia. I'm in Colombia right now. And it's my impression that men have more of an, an well, how would I say, natural place to meet. Like, I'm part of a cycling team here, and it's just men. And we have this, and it's a very important part of a lot of their social circle, you know. And so my question is also like, have you seen differences in the way men meet or not meet between, for example, Europe and the Latin world?
Hmm. Yes, definitely. I think one big difference we can see is like the US or even the Northern European, like Belgium or other countries in Europe are more individualistic. I mean, most of the people live alone. I have had the opportunity to travel to Sweden, to Denmark, to be part of some men's work, something called European Men's Gathering. Also to Berlin. I was in June in Berlin with 300 guys, and I can see there is very individual society in Spain or in Colombia. Family is still important, so there is kind of more connection. We tend to live close to our family, our brothers or sisters, our parents, so there is more community. We tend to be friends with the friends we had in school, in high school, in university. But this is going towards more and more towards what happened in the US, where people are very individualistic. Maybe they don't even talk to anyone during the day and things like that, So I think it's getting closer and closer. Another difference I've seen is that maybe in Spain, in the Latin speaking countries, we are a little bit more in contact with our emotions. Like you can see people arguing, in the streets or screaming each other, even fighting, which is for sure not very good. But I can see, when I went to England. I was facilitating in a tantra retreat this summer, and I can see how many times like English people, American, Germans, they need to drink in order to show or to connect a little bit with emotions. I think here we are still a little bit more in contact, not so much to be honest, but a little bit more. So I think there is more repression of emotions in the Anglo-Saxon cultures, but I think the need is equal. We all of us are very in need. Maybe the Latin speaking countries are less open. I've seen an event in Berlin with 300 guys, I've seen in Sweden 150 guys. And in Spain, I've been trying, and the biggest amount of guys we have gathered is 50 guys, And this is like after 8 years of work, and it's still hard to convince these guys to come. Once they come, it's really easy. Everything flows like boom, and you can see there is a journey in their heart for these spaces, even if they don't know it. So yeah, I think it's a big need in every country of this kind of work.
Yeah, so that everyone knows, Francisco is going to be joining us next week to give us a training on how to start a men's circle. Yeah, looking forward to that. The people who choose to own the summit package, the library, also get a bunch of live and recorded video trainings by our mentors, leaders, fathers, veterans, the men who are participating in these interviews, these conversations. So I'm very much looking forward to that, Francisco. How did you, how did you decide that you wanted to teach the men's circles? I know you spoke to that a little bit, but I don't know, why men's circles instead of some other form of working with men?
It's probably because this is the way I started. I started just facilitating men's circles because I realized I needed it. I needed that. I was living in Copangan in a tantric community. There were women everywhere. I was going crazy, running after women. And I realized I needed quality time with men. I didn't have so many friends there. So I realized, okay, I'm going to start my men's circle. I had a big balcony, a big like terrace in my bungalow. So guys just started coming every week. I was doing it every week for 5 months, for 5 years. So during 5 years, I was coming
Wow.
back to the island for the winter, for the European winter. And people just were coming. And at the beginning, I didn't think this was going to be my purpose. I just realized it was good for me. And then slowly, I realized, these guys wanted to repeat, to come to the circle. And every time I was in a men's circle and they were sharing a problem, a challenge, I realized I had something to share. But I couldn't, because usually in the men's circles, we don't allow to give advice unless it's requested. So, but I realized, I have a lot to share. And then after facilitating 100 circles, I realized there was nothing. There was not even a manual. There was nothing in Spanish. So I said, okay, I need to get this out of my system, and I want to make it easier for men who come. I've done lots of mistakes. I've done things that I think work. So I will put this in a book. Then it was a course, and after it became a book. So it was more like a calling of the soul of wanting to share this medicine, because for me it was medicine. When I was in the hard times, it was a great medicine. And I realized all the guys who came and trained to be the circle facilitators, and it was medicine for them. And then it just became bigger and bigger. And now, and then I started doing conscious sexuality, leadership, all the things. But men's circle was the beginning of all. And I'm so glad that still the community is growing, and we launch this course like 2 or 3 times a year, and more guys are coming. I think the beginning of men's work is being able to sit on a circle and look at all the men, to look around. I think this is the beginning of all.
Just being with other men. I imagine these are mostly millennial guys. And what do you? I don't know. Do millennials face specific challenges that you notice compared to, say, I don't know, the older generations?
Well, to be honest, I think the youngest guy I had in a retreat or a workshop was 15 years old, and the oldest was probably 75 or something like that. So this is quite heterogenic group. Like I really get guys that do a retreat and maybe the youngest is 20 and the oldest is 65. It's like 40 or 50 years gap, and that's amazing, because I think this is a something that goes beyond generations. We all men need this. Some men realize when they are 20, some men when they are 40, some when they are 60, some might never realize that they need this. But yeah, I don't think it's a thing of age, but usually the average age I would get is around my age, which is 41. um, I think now the new generations have it even harder, because when we are 40, 50, 60, we have seen what it was before, no? Like when men could be men and women were women. But the new generations, they don't know this anymore, because now it's all mixed, and now there's a lot of confusion. They don't know anymore. There's all these crazy things that are happening in the world, and the young guys, they think this is normal. We know it's not normal. But now for them it's the normality, and now it's like, oh my god, I think we really need to put together men from different generations. And I really like the name of your summit, because I think it goes into that, no, calling all men, and going of this thing that fathers, grandparents, kids are not together anymore as men, and this we can feel this completely.
Yeah, we were talking to your friend this morning, Paul Lloyd Robson, and he was speaking very powerfully to this identity crisis that many boys and young men are facing. I mean, it's even not clear anymore culturally what is a man. Am I a man? How do I know when I'm a man? I mean, some such questions that I mean are the older generations probably never asked because it was just so obvious or assumed or static in the culture, just kind of locked in. And but now everything is in flux, everything is in question, and yeah, it's man. So, what about you, Francisco? What about your father? What kind of connection did you have to men growing up? Do you have brothers?
Look, it's funny, because when I was giving the speech in Berlin, in Germany this summer, I started telling them that my grandfather, the father of my father, he was fighting in the Second World War. He volunteered to fight against communism after the Spanish Civil War. So when he was about 25, he had been in two wars: the Spanish Civil War, when he had really big problems, and in Russia. He went to Germany by train, and then he walked to Russia.
Wow.
And imagine this guy that comes back with 25 after two wars. comes back to Spain, and he gets a taxi. He was a taxi driver. He got a taxi for fighting the war. And imagine how his emotions were, how he was. He never talked to anyone about this, about what happened there. He never spoke with anyone about what happened in war, at least that I know, my father or my uncles. So he died with 99, and probably he got, he was buried with his memories of what happened there. And then is my father. My father's still alive. He's 72. He's a really cool guy. He's super funny. He's an old school man. When I tell him about this men's work, he makes fun of me. He's like, you're just bunch of gays, whatever, It's like he doesn't understand because he doesn't see the need, because in his world there was probably no need for this. Now there is a huge need, but still
Yeah.
he supports me and he's very proud of what I'm achieving, even if he doesn't really understand pretty much what is happening. But for me, I realized I had my father. My father was very present. And I think in a way he was a good example, and also a not so good example in other ways. But he was present, maybe not so emotionally present. I always could see my father was carrying a lot of emotions that he didn't know how to express. I was very scared of him when I was young because I could see his anger, and he was never allowing this anger, out. So I think we all, but there was a lack of this emotional connection. There was a lack of my father telling me you are the best, and he did the best he could, and I'm so grateful to him, and I honor him, and now we have a great relationship. But I know there was a lack of other mentors, other men that could show me different ways of being a man. Because what I had
Yes.
as a young guy is my mother telling me, you don't have to be like your father. And I'm like, okay, if I don't have to be my father, but I have to be a man, and my father is the man I know, then what do I have to be? Do I have to be a man like you, my mother? It's like very complicated message to
You
give
mean
to
she
a
was
to a
telling you
child.
that you should not be like your father?
Exactly. And this is like, well, this is the role I have. I don't have to be like him. So then what? And then I became a Mr. Nice Guy. And then, we all know what it takes to learn to say no, to learn to put your limits, to learn to not care about what other things about you, and all these things that I think most men are carrying. And we have to learn once we are older.
Hans?
No, I'm just fascinated by the personal story, and it's yeah, I was also reflecting on mine, and I think it's quite similar. It's quite similar, and I think there's yeah, I what struck me is this absence of role models, men we can aspire to, you know, and I mean, I had my father, and I think my father is great, but that's it. Maybe a teacher, one of the teachers, that was so different that I remember him to this day, and that I think, wow, that was a great man. Um, but yeah, I didn't think of it growing up, but I do see now in hindsight that there were very little role models, men to aspire to.
Mm. So, Francisco, I'm curious, what are you doing in Colombia now? And what you're going, what, to the coast of Colombia? What are you up to there?
It's a new adventure. I'm in Medellin at the moment, and as soon as we finish with this interview, I'm going to the airport and I'm flying to the coast of Colombia, where I have rented with my wife a hostel, and we are kind of creating a conscious community. We are going to be gathering friends everywhere we go. We have friends coming over, so we decided to rent a hostel, and that has space for like 22 people. So we are doing New Year's gathering. We are doing different workshops, retreats. We are going to do all there. We're very happy. It's kind of making roots. We have rented this hostel. We have the opportunity to buy it, and this is something that has been in our mind for many years. We have lived in different conscious communities, like in Costa Rica, in Mexico, and now we are kind of, maybe these are the seeds of our own. We're at the coast in Palomino, Guajira. It's a beautiful place, very wild. Yeah, we are very happy with this. I'm still doing all my online work. I will be doing like mastermind in March at the coast in Colombia, and yeah, working in many different projects. Um, Very inspired to be. I always get out of the winter in Europe, come to the tropics for like 10 years. So yeah, I'm still very inspired now. I hire a new mentor to help me with all the online business, so I can reach more men and yeah, share with more men all this knowledge and all these experiences.
Will you become a father? Is that in your future?
This is something I'm talking a lot about with my wife. She's becoming 34 this week, so we still have a little bit of time. And in the last few weeks, I've been like yourself, Michael, and other friends who have become parents recently, or who are thinking about becoming parents recently. And I definitely think my life is amazing right now. It's really cool. I've been traveling for 10 years. I have an online business. I have an open relationship. I have really all what I want, but there is a part of me that says like, but being a father, like how would it be to raise a child, and to have to be this role model for someone, for a boy or for a girl. So it's definitely there. We are talking about it, and yeah, hopefully we will have to do it. And you know what I will do? First thing I will do when I hear my wife is pregnant, I'm gonna do an online summit about fatherhood. This is the first thing I'm going to do. It's the first thing because this is the way I learn.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great way to learn is to host an event like this for sure. Yeah, I interviewed 55 guys the for the website where we're launching, and this week is another 20. So that's about 75 interviews in about 3 months, maybe 4 months. But yeah, Hans, what about you? Are you going to become a daddy?
I never thought I would, but this is the first time I could say I'm not saying no. So, but who knows? It's the first time that I think, that's a possibility. That's definitely a possibility. So that's interesting. Um, Michael became one very recently, and you said, I said, how is it? How is it to become a father? And you said that I thought it was interesting. Maybe I'm paraphrasing. Um, it's like it's like filling a hole that I didn't know I had, filling an emptiness I didn't know I had. Is that
Yeah.
correct, Michael?
Yeah. Yeah. It really is, even just taking breaks from doing this summits, and I'll walk in the other room and just see her, and I'll pick her up and just lay her on my chest, and there's just all this love, and this like relaxation and peace just comes over me because this event is quite complex and I'm not getting much sleep, but I just go pick her up, and then it's just like, you know I think a lot of our working so hard in the Western world and so much focus on the future is oftentimes because just being here in here, it doesn't feel so good. We want to get somewhere else. We want to be someone else. We want to, it's all this outward focus. And yeah, it's, holding that newborn baby who's your daughter. It's just like, yeah, there's nothing to do, just here we are. So it's beautiful. Francisco, I wonder what challenges you see men encountering when they want to gather men in men's circles. Um, because I think, as I've put on this summit, I've seen different kinds of men working with men in different kinds of ways. Um, and one of the things I've noticed is, you know, some degree of them. Well, okay, let me not speak about this event in particular, but something I've noticed over the past, I don't know, 15 years, traveling, doing my work, whatever, is um, a lot of times the men who most need the brotherhood are the worst at it. You know, right? There's some kind of wounding there with their father, or they just never had brothers. They were never part of a, I don't know, being around just men was not familiar to them. And maybe they were extra sensitive or extra, I had a friend once, and when he came to visit me in Thailand, we went, you can get the foot massage on the side of the street. And for the woman to touch his legs, like his calves, was painful. Like physical touch, just physical touch in general, was so foreign to him. And that just physical touch was painful. So, yeah, what are some of the issues that you see men have as they try to make a men's circle happen and make it be powerful?
I think the main thing, and it's very good, because my wife works with women, and I've been like mentoring my wife for the last few years, helping her and her sister with all the online strategies. I studied marketing, and I've studied with many mentors about this. And I think the only reason why I could actually make a living from men's work is because I had this background in marketing, and because I have been investing in how to sell to men, because it's difficult. And even still nowadays, the biggest challenge that I see in all the students that come with me, and in me, also for me, I'm still doing my retreats, workshops, everything, is still making men, like making this message attractive to men, so they give the first step. You said something that is super real. It's the men who most need it, they are not coming to these spaces, because, and I know myself, first time I was in this men's workshop, I didn't even know, I didn't go for that. Probably I wouldn't have gone if I knew I was going to be for 3 days with 47 men in a room. I was like disgusted with that idea. I was there, I went to a tantra workshop to see if I could hook up with some girls, not to spend time with men. I was kind of cheating on that. I didn't even know. I don't think I even read the thing. So still today, the biggest challenge, at least in the Spanish speaking countries, I know for sure, is to motivate the men so they open up and come to these spaces. Once they come, it's so easy. Like I do retreats, and every time, I do a 5 days retreat now, where we do rite of passage, everything. One day we're sitting in a circle, and I tell them the biggest thing, the most difficult thing we need to do is already done. You came here. From now,
Mm.
it's all like this, it's easy, because at least my experience, what I had with men, is like, even when we are in the retreats, there's no really big challenges. There's no big confrontation or problems or issues. I see with my wife, she works with women. You do a summit with women, you will have 500,000 women signing up, and I'm sure you don't have 500,000 men, because women would tell each other, and they share with their friends, and they send it to the WhatsApp group of the mothers of the school and all these things. With men, it's like, it's not so easy. So this is still the biggest challenge. And the biggest prize is when the guys come and they realize there is this huge journey of their soul of spending time with other men, because this is what we have done for all of our history. It's only
Yeah.
the last 40 or 50 years that every space is mixed. It's men and women everywhere. But before that, hundreds and thousands of years before, men were with men, women were with women, and sometimes would, gather just to for some things.
Yeah, you see that. I mean, I've traveled the world for a long time, as has Hans, as have you. And you go to any place that's not like modern, super modern and westernized, and the men and women just hang out separately. The men are with the men, and the women are with the women, and it's not like there's not a big drama or conflict about it. It's just like that's kind of what's normal. Men are different from women in key ways, and that's even taboo to say in the modern Western world. But it's obvious to the rest of the world. It's obvious to people who've been, who are from some kind of enduring culture, and there is a sense of ease or relaxation that you can find with men. I'm saying this maybe to the men who might be watching who have not grown up with any men's spaces. And mostly the internet today is a mixed space as well. Like even this men's gathering, okay, we're just three men on a call, but 50% of the women, the people who watch this call, could be women. They could be about to offer their critical comments or judge men who come to something like this. So it's not the same as being just with men. And in the Western world, many of these all men spaces have been removed. They've been taken away. They've been judged as sexist or whatever. But man, it can be so healing, so just relaxing, just like, oh, okay. There's a way of being on the earth where I can be like this, and I don't have to play the role of the guy who's being civilized and fitting in the mixed company.
Could it be that that given the situation the predicament that we're in, that a man almost needs to be forced into it in the same way that there's power to, like Frederick was talking in the bullying, independent of the judgment of that. He says there's a role of that in a man's life. And there's a role for an older brother who's mentoring his younger brother, and it's not always pleasant. There's a role for the father figure, that's not always pleasant. And in the same way, maybe brotherhood, given the predicament that we're in, men maybe need to be like forced into it, And I'm not saying we should force them into it, but it's part of the challenge that a lot of men won't choose for it, and until they experience it, then they will know. Like for me, it was the same. I had some experiences with brotherhood because I was always playing football and I was in parts of teams, but I never really experienced true brotherhood. I never did. I never had an older brother, I never really had elders. And, it's almost like I had to experience it before I understood the healing power, the growing power of being among men, of being in a brotherhood. And so if this is true, it's quite a predicament that you're also in, Francisco. If you need to get guys there, you were lucky because you went there to that retreat thinking it was something else, and you were kind of forced into the 3 days, and that give you that experience. So that's interesting to me.
Guys, now I do sometimes retreats or workshops with my wife, and we do men, women, couples all together about tantra and conscious sexuality. And I remember this summer I was in a tantra festival, and there's like 300 people. I was talking to the organizers, and I said, we need a space where we separate, because we're gonna be for a week interacting, men, women, getting crazy with all this sexual energy, with all this celebration. And they said, okay, we'll do that. So we were like about maybe 60, 70 guys in a room, and we were just sitting down, and I was in silence. I didn't do anything. I was just sitting down looking at the guys. And then I asked them, like, how do you feel? And they were all like, oh, like relax. I asked, how do you feel? And they were like, wow, I feel relaxed, because we have been around women, in this kind of tantra environment where everyone is like looking, something to do, and there is so much distraction and so many beautiful women, and they are distracted, just running around this feminine energy, and just sitting down in silence, looking at other men. And in 2 minutes, they understood why we need to be only men sometimes, why it's so powerful. And then we were doing different exercises. And after 2 hours or something like that, doing some work, we went back to meet the woman. And we were outside of the room, a circle of guys is looking at each other in silence, waiting for the woman to allow us to come in. And at some point, I was looking at the guys, and I saw some guys were crying just from looking at each other and being in silence after 2 hours of doing some exercises, And then we enter, and I think, and some men shared that with me. For the first time, they could see women in a different way because they felt powerful, they felt strong, they felt present. And it was just like a couple of hours thing, and it was so powerful. So yeah, there is such a huge need. And I know you are interviewing some guys who are doing amazing work. So for any guy who is watching, if he has never tried some live event, if he has the chance, there's so many different platforms now doing men's work at least once in their lifetime, that they go and try to understand, to feel in their body how it is. Because I think our soul knows this so deeply because we have done it for hundreds of years, all the time. That once you sit down around the fire or whatever and look at other guys, it's like, oh, one part of you is like, oh my God, how have I survived without this for so long, And there is this opening, this being able to look at other man's into the eyes without this need of competing, just being able to share, to maybe challenge each other, but in a nice way, to grow together, to inspire each other, to learn from each other, to sometimes to to have some things and issues, and then confront each other even if there is a need. I think this is very powerful, and all men should experience this at least once.
Yes, amen. That's a beautiful call out, and I think that our young friend Reem or Remy came and trained with you, came and took your men's circles facilitator course. Yeah, so um, Francisco, thank you for doing your work and showing up for men, even in the face of the frustration that you must often feel. You have this gift you want to share. You have this service you want to offer, and you know it can make a difference. And man, it's can be like herding cats, right? It's hard work, and but I'm sure the men realize once they come and meet up with you that, wow, this was the gift he was trying to give me, and I've been resisting all this time. It's yeah, we need more men like you who are out there gathering men, inviting them into brotherhood, inviting them into yeah, being allies for each other, having their backs, having each other's backs. And thanks for joining us. And we'll have you with our men who choose to own the Calling All Men Summit next week. You'll give us a teaching on how to start a men's circle. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, I'll leave you with last words here to men. What do you have to say to men out there?
Yeah, I wanna tell men to join this and also to pay. I mean, it's very cheap, to buy this thing because it's a way to give back a little bit. This I know how it takes. It takes a lot to organize this, and it's good to give back a little bit. And also another thing for men who are watching this, share this with other men. Sometimes, most of the time, men we are watching this at home and we're like, oh, nobody's watching me. It's like, no, go to this WhatsApp group you have with your friends where they are always sending pictures of stupid things, and share the link. Share your link and say, hey guys, this is there, because they might be other men who are interested, and who I'm sure they are gonna benefit a lot from watching this. I'm gonna get my pass to be able to watch this in the next months, because I think it's very important. There's amazing guys. I know personally a few guys who are in the summit, and others I know of their work, and I think it's very important to do. And the last thing, this, like if they have the chance, they might join a men's circle, or if they need to create their own one, we're gonna have this class next week, or they can buy the book or whatever. But let's just create more and more of these spaces. There is so much need for so many men. It's crazy. There are so many men committing suicide. There are so many men who are alone. There are so many men who are drug addicts, alcoholics, all these things, and no one cares. So we have to care for each other, and we have to support each other and inspire each other. I think it's time for men to wake up. You are doing this calling all men. So yeah, all men to wake up and start doing the work, because it's so powerful. If I see my life 10 years ago and now, it's really brilliant, my life right now. And it's being, the main thing is men's work. I've been doing super committed, doing this work, and I can see the benefit in my life right now. So it's for their own benefit, and it's for the benefit of the world, of society itself. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you for this amazing work. Fair play to you, really. It's very impressive, gathering all these men, and I hope it goes really, really. I hope you get back. I mean, I have no doubt you are gonna get back a lot more. The first online summit I did, I found my wife. Imagine how much I
Wow.
got back. So I hope you get back in whatever way, whatever you
Well,
need
I'm
to
not
from
looking
all
for
this.
a husband, but yeah. So, men who
No,
want to join in more conversations like this, meet more great men like Francisco, Facebook.com, Calling All Men Summit. We're going to be hosting live interviews. And for a bunch more interviews, join us over at callingallmensummit.com. Francisco, good luck on your journeys. Stay safe. I look forward to meeting up in person again in the future. Say hi to your wife. And Hans, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Thank you guys
Yes.
all for tuning in wherever you are. And
Thank you, Francisco. Thank you, Michael.
good night.
So, good night.